Hey everybody, welcome to the Decuro Gaming channel here on YouTube. I am Dean, also known as Decuro. Today we're going to do a review of this Origin EON17-X that I bought. I gotta stop saying That's what I gotta do. A few people have asked me to do an actual review of this computer. I did an unboxing and a quick review, and mostly talked about my experience with Origin through the ordering process and delivery. But let's talk about the actual computer, shall we? So I loaded it up when I ordered to everything that I could think of that would enhance the gameplay, with keeping within my price point. My price point was around $4,000. That was my plan. I ended up at $4,022, which isn't too bad. I mean, I hit it pretty close. Shortly after that, then they started offering the, I think the 9900, the i9 9900, and the RTX 2080 cards, which, you know, I was a little bit disheartened by that whole deal because, you know, it took forever to get my system, and then before they sent it out, they had the new stuff in stock. So we'll start with the finish, the outside of the computer. I chose the red finish just because it just looked clean. It looked good. When I clicked on the color on the website, it looked like a bright, glossy red. What I got on the computer itself is a darker, flat red with maybe a little bit of flake in it. It looks really good. I like it a lot better than what I saw on the website. They had a bunch of other options that you could do as far as a finish on the lid. You could do graphics or whatever. I just wanted to go simple, and I thought the red looked good. So I did that. I chose the i7 8700K because at the time, that was the only overclockable CPU that they offered. I also chose the GTX 1080 for the video card. That at the time was the top of the line video card. They didn't come out with the RTX 2080 until right before they shipped my computer, and that's another kind of a sore subject. I upgraded the RAM to 32 gigs of the G-Skill DDR4. I have two Samsung 970 500 gig. I think it's 500 gig. Might be 250. SSDs in RAID 0. And then I also have the Fire CUDA, and that one's a terabyte. I did a couple of benchmarks, and I don't know how all the benchmarking numbers play out. Heaven on this, I did it on the highest setting, and I did it on 4K. Most people, it seems like, do it on 1080p. I don't know. I just wanted to see what this thing would do at its max settings. According to the numbers, it didn't look too good. It was, the minimum was in the 20s frames per second. The maximum was in the 80s frames per second. The actual score did not look well. When I looked up tests and other people's scores, it was horrible. However, I did notice that a lot of the testing that people do online for scores is in 1080p at the high settings. And I did it at 4K because that's what I want to run at. I did the Grand Theft Auto benchmark, and it stayed right around 60 frames per second on the highest settings possible. And in all of the testing I did with benchmarking and stuff, it got in the 100 Celsius range for temperatures. I didn't notice any throttling or anything like that, so that's good. I've been playing the Division 2 on Ultra, and no issues. That thing, it just cruises right through that. I don't notice anything, especially when I have it on my 1440p monitor at 144 hertz. It's very fast. No screen tearing, no lag, no nothing, no negative stuff. So on the left side, we have the Ethernet port, a Thunderbolt 3, a USB-C, two USB 3.0s, and the 6-in-1, 5 or 6-in-1 card reader for your SDs and whatnot. The Thunderbolt 3, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to use that for, if I can use it. I saw a dock or a port. What is this thing called? So I found the CalDigit PS3 Plus Thunderbolt 3 dock on Linus Tech Tips. He did a quick review, or he made a desk, I think is what it was. And it was one plug that goes into that Thunderbolt 3 port, and it did his monitor, his Ethernet, his peripherals, his USB peripherals. That would be great, and I might still do that. It's $300 for that particular box, but it would be even nicer. And I think on his show he did it. It charged the laptop as well, and that would be great. However, I don't think this one will charge. It seems like there was a limit on the power rating. There was a limit on how much that could be charged through there. I believe it requires way more power than the Thunderbolt 3 can supply. It comes with this big power brick. I don't believe that the Thunderbolt 3 can charge it, but I mean, if I get that particular product, I'll try it. On the other side, should be the right-hand side of the computer, we have all your I's and O's for your audio, 2 more USB 3.0s. On the back of the computer, there is 2 big exhaust fan ports. There is an HDMI, a full-size HDMI plug in the back, as well as 2 of the mini DisplayPort plugs. So you can hook up multiple monitors to it. Works very, very well in that aspect. The only downside I've had at all with this in the last, 2 months that I've used it, as far as the monitor goes, and it could be some settings I need to tweak, but if I am playing on my 1440p 144 hertz monitor through the mini DisplayPort to DisplayPort, the G-Sync to FreeSync has a lot of problems. Apparently this monitor is not one of the approved monitors for compatibility for the G-Sync to the FreeSync. The monitor I have is the BenQ Zowie 27-inch. The other problem I have had with the monitors on the external monitors on this setup, or even with the onboard monitor, if I hook the HDMI to my Elgato capture card, and then I have the DisplayPort going to my BenQ 1440p 144 hertz monitor, it does not refresh at 144 hertz. It refreshes at 60 hertz. If I disconnect the Elgato, it goes back to where it actually refreshes at 144 hertz. Same thing with when I have the lid open and the attached monitor, the 4K monitor on the laptop. If it is on and my BenQ, it only refreshes at 60 hertz on the BenQ as well. So that part has been kind of an issue. I mean, it's always nicer to have a higher refresh rate. I don't know why it's doing that. And that could be a software thing. So it's heavy. It's not on my scale. Again, everything's probably got some variables, but on my scale, it weighed in at 9.8 pounds for just the laptop itself. I bought a cheap cooler that sits on the bottom, and that's about 2 pounds. 1.8, I think, is what it weighed in at. That runs off USB, just kind of forces a little more air back in there. So we're at, 12 pounds sitting on your lap. if you're using the cooler. While using it on a table, it's not bad. When you put it on the cooler, it lifts it up just enough to allow your wrists to have the right angle and type. If you have it on your knees, as I do here, it is pretty heavy, and any kind of long-term gaming or project that you're going to be sitting with this on your lap, it's like it's quite the weight. It definitely wears on you after a little while. Without the cooler, if you have it on your lap, it is warm. The intake fans, the intake ports are on the bottom, so if it's sitting on your legs, it's not going to get a lot of air coming through. Not to mention, it's just going to be hot down there anyway. You put the laptop cooler under it. This particular one is not very comfortable. I'm sure there are other brands or other versions out there that may be more suitable for putting on your knees or on your legs. But this one is not it. The keyboard, the layout is okay. I am not a fan of the keys themselves. I don't think they have enough travel, in my opinion. They feel like pretty much like every laptop keyboard I've ever messed with. It's not bad. It's not great. The RGB backlighting, there are 3 zones. You can change each zone to a different color or have them all the same or whatever you want to do. I would have liked to see a little more individual, like if I could do the WASD keys in a red and then have the rest. But that's style. That doesn't even really matter. The fingerprint sensor is hit and miss on this. I've gotten a little better at using it, but there are some days that it takes 5-6 times for it to recognize me, and some days I just have to put in my PIN. It just won't recognize me. The rest of the trackpad, however, is actually very good. There is not much of a dead space at the edges of the trackpad. However, it does do very well at palm rejection. I have not had any problem with it clicking on anything or moving the mouse while I'm typing, or if my palm happens to rest on the trackpad. The right click, left click buttons are good. I actually like the feel of them a little better than the keyboard itself. They feel almost more solid. The trackpad's performance has been mostly positive. I've noticed that a few times it did not want to register the gestures or scroll through the web pages. It was just kind of like, it was getting very finicky. It didn't want to work correctly. But it's been few and far between. I normally use an external mouse anyway, but for those days where I just jump on there and use the trackpad, majority of the time it does very well. The keyboard layout is pretty standard. Has your WASDs outlined. Everything is a little crammed together though. It does come with a numpad. I think is unnecessary unless you're an accountant. I don't recall playing any games where I had to use a numpad, but if they're out there, then that's fine. I personally don't like it. I wouldn't mind if it was an option or if it was in a different space. If they took out the numpad, they could put almost a full-size keyboard in this laptop and it would work just fine. My problem with the numpad is it pushes all of the keys together and I find myself hitting the wrong keys. I'm used to a lot clickier keys, a little more travel, but it does okay. Power button is up in the center. It's a push and hold to boot up. It doesn't take long for the computer to boot up. Up on the front, you'll see the 2 speaker grills. It says tuned by Sound Blaster Pro Gaming on the computer, on the chassis here. It has Realtek speakers or Realtek audio according to the software on the computer. The sound is okay. There's no big bass sound, or I mean, the surround is okay. Stereo sound is okay. I opted for the 4K screen, 60 hertz. I believe there was another option, like a 1440, but all this stuff has changed on the website, and I can't go back and see what the options were. But I want to say there was a 1440. I know there was a 1080p version, but I want to say there was a 1440. Regardless, I got the 4K because I wanted the top of the line type experience. The bezel is bigger than a lot of the other ones out there on the market. It's a good inch on the top, maybe a little more than an inch on the bottom, probably half inch, 3/4 inch on the sides. It's a good size bezel. So if you're into like the thin bezel or no bezel look, definitely not going to work for you. This is the 17.3 inch screen, non-touch screen. In the top bezel is a microphone and the webcam. I've never used the webcam, so I don't really know how it holds up. The 4K screen, my biggest complaint about the 4K screen is there are a lot of hot spots around the edge. If I'm watching a movie or I'm playing a game and it's a darker scene, it almost looks like spotlights are shining in from random places around the screen. It looks like it's supposed to be edge lighting, but it's not complete all the way around. It's little spots that kind of shine in, and that to me it looks bad. This computer is really good if you're wanting to carry all of your stuff with you at all times. There's plenty of storage. There's plenty of computing power. You can render your videos. You can edit your videos. You can play. I have not had any trouble playing games on Ultra on either the 4K screen that's attached or my 1440p screen externally. I've not had any troubles. This thing just chews through that stuff. I don't notice any lag on the screen. I don't notice any screen tearing. I don't notice any pixelation. Would this computer be good for a student? I don't think I would carry this through school. This is very heavy. It's very big, and it always has to be plugged in. You couldn't go through a class and take notes. I don't really care what they say about. I mean, as soon as as soon as you get halfway into class, this thing is going to die and you can't take any more notes. I don't think it would be good for a student, unless you're like a video editing student or a game designer or something like that. If you're just a normal student in a classroom, I don't think this would be the way to go. This is also not a computer that you're probably going to go to Starbucks, pull out, sit back with your latte, and do whatever you do at Starbucks with a latte. It is, again, very, very big. It's heavy. It's loud. The fans are fairly loud. And you always have to be plugged in. If you want to take your entire game library with you when you travel on the road, to game on the road, to stream on the road, do video editing, whatever you want to do away from home, as long as you have a plug-in, it's great. It is having your desktop on the road. You don't have to pack up a big tower. You don't have to take a monitor. That is what it's good for. So just for comparison, I went to PC Part Picker, and I kind of just picked this computer if I were to build a desktop system at home with PC Part Picker using similar or the same specs. I chose i7-8700 6-core processor. I chose I just grabbed a Kraken X2 liquid CPU cooler. It's a little more expensive, but that's what I would do if I were building a computer, something along those lines. I chose the Asus Republic of Gamers Maximus 11 Hero with Wi-Fi. Again, I just kind of chose those things are what I would have probably chosen if I were building it. I'm not sure what the motherboard is on here. It's a laptop motherboard. G-Skill Ripjaws, I think is what I got in here. I think I've got the Ripjaws. 32 gigs. The Samsung SSDs. I chose EVGA GeForce GTX 1080. Got the cheapest tower case that was on there, and I got a 750 watt power supply, Windows 10, and a cheap 4K monitor. I did not put any peripherals, no keyboard, mice, anything like that. That came out to $2,605 for a desktop that's similar. Now this was $4,022. Is it worth that extra money? And again, it comes down to what you're doing with it. I take this to one of my jobs that I work indoors, and I don't always have to be working. I can watch movies, or I can play video games, or I can edit videos, and I have my entire library, everything I need here. This is my main computer, and so it's able to travel with me. Since I don't really care for the keyboard, I use a Razer Orb Weaver. It's Orb Weaver Chroma. If I'm going to do mouse and keyboard style gaming, I carry that with me. I have a mouse. I use a Logitech G602 wireless mouse I take with me. I carry a Xbox One controller and a mouse pad and a few different chargers. One for my cell phone, one for my iPad, one for, I have a wireless headphones, in the ear Bluetooth headphones. I have Arctic 7 SteelSeries Arctic 7 wireless over the ear headphones for gaming. My bag is 23 pounds to carry. If I were to go to school with a pack, and this doesn't have any extra room either. This is just computer stuff. There's no room for books. There's no room for really anything. It's pretty much, I have the Origin backpack, which is awesome, by the way. If you buy one of these, definitely consider getting the Origin backpack. 2 reasons. This thing is ginormous and doesn't fit in a lot of computer bags. Secondly, this bag is awesome. I didn't buy it from Origin, but I think I bought it from Amazon. It might have came from Origin. I don't even know. But its quality is amazing. It's got enough pockets for everything. It just feels good. Definitely worth the money. Also, if you are going to be doing what I do, which is have this be your main computer at home and then travel with it, I would strongly recommend buying a second power supply. That way you can do cable management at your desk and have a power supply to take with you, so you don't have to plug and unplug this power supply all the time. If you're a businessman and you have a laptop that you need to take to work, to pull out in front of clients, to do work in like a boardroom setting, this might be a little much for you. It's heavy. Fully loaded, my pack is 23 pounds only for computer stuff. The computer itself is 10 pounds. You will have to take a power supply with you, plug it in, because it doesn't last very long. Take your peripherals if that's what you want to do. I mean, the keyboard and mouse, the keyboard and trackpad will work just fine. I think if you were going to take this for work, take it to a library for studying, anything like that, I think this would be a poor choice. I would look into one of the other more slim laptops that offer a quieter experience, a little bit lighter maybe, and can maybe play games comparably. If you are just looking to build or to have a kick-ass system at home, go to PC Part Picker, throw in what you want. You can make a desktop for way cheaper than this. Way cheaper. It is not that hard to build a computer. The computer I used to stream, I built a couple of years ago for $1,500, I think. Yeah, $1,500. And it's plays every game I want to play. And now I guess it's time for the $1 million question. Would I buy this computer again, knowing what I know now? I don't know. I don't know. I think I would have to really look at the other computers. In the end, it's a great computer. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It is what I ordered. I put in the stuff, I saw the price, and I paid for it. But I don't think it's worth that much money. You know, Origin, they had a great reputation as far as I was concerned, based on what I heard from other people. But you know, honestly, I haven't heard anything back. I mean, I'm fairly certain that they've watched my other video where I talked about my interaction with them. I mean, obviously they didn't retweet my, link. They didn't like my video. I mean, they're not going to do that when I said, they didn't fulfill their part of the bargain, in my opinion. They're not going to do that. They're only going to do it if I go, oh, this thing is awesome and the experience was great and everybody should go buy that. Can't do it. I can't do it. The product is good. It plays every game I want. Does exactly what was advertised. Unfortunately, I don't think it's worth 4K. I would probably be hard pressed to do it again if I were to need another computer. I would probably look around a little harder. Okay, so for a recap, heavy, 10 pounds. Need a cooler. Mine's 2 pounds, cost me $20. They have more expensive ones. I think Origin has one for $60 or something. Probably more comfortable than this one. This was cheap on Amazon. Definitely are going to need to carry peripherals if you're doing any kind of gaming. I don't like the keyboard layout. I carry a separate keypad and mouse. The power brick is ginormous. Carrying it with you adds a lot of weight. Always has to be plugged in. Probably no good for student unless you're doing video editing or game design or something like that. Probably no good for a businessman or somebody who travels a lot for work and wants to take their entire game library and have their entire gaming system with them to get the experience wherever they go. Definitely that. Take a good mouse, take a good keyboard. Gaming is spot on. Movies do well. The screen is the only downfall I see on that part, on as far as the graphically or visually. The screen is the only part that's a problem with those hotspots. And I'm not sure if that's even supposed to be that way. I don't want to send it back because I don't know when I'll get it back. It took them so long to send it to me, and they kept me in the dark the whole time. I don't really want to send it back to them. Not to mention it's expensive to ship. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching this video. Sorry I didn't go into this a little more last time. I just did a quick, I guess, unboxing and vented about my experience with Origin's customer service, and I didn't really go into what the computer really did.